Work on. My name is Ben Cool, and I'm a sports analyst, the host of BC-60. Today I'm interviewing Spencer Thompson, the gnarly play-by-play commentator. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ben slash Brandon. Both you are incredible colleagues, and appreciate it. Think it's a privilege every second that I'm here on your show, and I like that we have a Jeff Dunham in the sports broadcasting realm, in essence, where you get to master the puppeteering side and be able to bring in your creativity and knowledge of the sports side. It's pretty cool, and excited to get the conversation going.
I'm excited for the conversation ahead. I appreciate you taking the time in your busy schedule to join me. I have a few questions for you. Have you always wanted to be a play-by-play broadcaster?
Well, the short answer to that is no. It hasn't always been in my DNA, but I quote our colleague Ian Eagle, and he told me you could talk to 100 different sports broadcasters about their journey and how they've gotten to where they are today, and you would get 100 different answers. The short answer to that, there's no cookie cutter way in this industry for how to get started in the journey or how to find your passion or even how to get to where you are today. I mean, case in point, you know that, especially with nobody else really does anything like this. For me, and I guess kind of the hidden layer that you had on your question there is how did I get started in the industry? I'm the youngest of four siblings. My brother is the oldest. I have two older sisters, and my sisters played volleyball all throughout middle school and high school, and it was easier for my parents to have me tag along with them than to get separately picked up after school. So that resulted in, because I was with the team, they just had me do whatever they needed, line judge, water boy, you name it. And I was essentially the team's workhorse. Did a couple of years of that, and eventually volleyball said they wanted to do film study. So they said, Spencer, you're following with the team already. Here's a camera and tripod. You're going to film the games. And did that for a couple of years. Basketball then ended up calling me, said, we want you to film our games since you've been doing so well with volleyball. One thing led to another. I was our school's film guy and did that for several years. I was on a bus ride to a football game in my junior year of high school, and our school's headmaster showed me a website where you could use a tablet or smartphone to stream games, and he basically asked the question of what if we tried broadcasting? And ill-advised, probably, now looking back at it, but he put his trust in a kid who was 16 years old to take a Bluetooth headset, an iPhone 6s, to call everything for the broadcasting side. Just decided from there was nothing else I wanted to do with my life but give justice to the moments in sport that deserve them in the play-by-play side. So that's kind of a long-winded answer on that. But no, I didn't always want to know. I didn't find it out until I was about at the age of 17.
Gnarly. What was your first on-air experience like?
So I tell people that I technically started on the full-time broadcasting side in high school in terms of calling games in 2015 in a kind of professional setting. I actually started an esports league with the video game Team Fortress 2 called the National Heavy Boxing League back in 2012, 2013. And I was the owner and founder of the league, but I was also the lead play-by-play guy for it because we didn't really have that many others who wanted to do it. But also, it was one of those where they wanted, I guess not to build myself up or anything, but they wanted the best voice on there, and so they trusted my deep baritone to lead the charge on that. So, um, technically, the first broadcast I ever did was in about 2012 or 2013, where it was filmed. It was not, I believe it's somewhere out in the cosmos on the internet waves now, but um, I that was a little bit nerve-wracking in terms of trying to find the right words to say and the right things to do, and there was still a lot of hesitations, a lot of stutters, a lot of challenges in trying to tell the right stories on there, especially at a kid at 12 or 13. But when I was 16 and did my first broadcast, I believe it was either football or volleyball with one of the teams, and I didn't have a broadcast partner. It was just talking by myself. All I had were rosters that there's already a challenge a little bit in high school sports where you don't have every team posting their statistics on max preps in football. Volleyball and basketball and those other sports, certainly the same thing. So all I would have to go off of were just rosters, and I could tell some stories from knowing the players who were on the court for my team, but couldn't really do the same thing for the other side. So it was very much a Homer broadcast, but I kind of just stuck to what I saw, which in essence is really the play-by-play side. And for the times that I did have an analyst, it helped so I could actually rest my voice a little bit and bounce things off. But that first on-air experience, it is a challenge unlike any other, especially if you have not soaked in broadcasting styles from other broadcasters or listened and try to figure out what the other strategies are. It's um, it's a thrill unlike any other, certainly, but it's one of those where you have to be able to um, yeah, you look back at that first broadcast. I still haven't yet, but you look back at that first broadcast after you've done 100, 500, whatever it is, and when you see the evolution of how far you've come, that it kind of feels endearing to think that you started somewhere and got to where you are today.
Awesome. What is the most challenging part of your job?
you know, I always like to tell people there are challenges to any aspect in the sports media industry. I think there have been times where I've been, as I mentioned in high school, I was on that grind of 3, 4, 5 nights a week, coming home as late as midnight from calling 3 to 5 games a night. That certainly puts a strain on your voice, and that was way before I had thought of any sort of vocal cord alleviation like Hall's Minis is what I use, throat coat tea before any game broadcast I'm going into. And that those times were a challenge. I think you also have a challenge when you're trying to prepare for a multitude of games that you have to call. Like this past spring, I was on a grind of doing a bunch of club hockey games that fortunately there are some statistics available in terms of some in terms of like goals and assists and penalties. But really it's the biggest challenge you have is trying to remind yourself that the game dictates what stories you tell. The game dictates when you talk about certain elements over others. My challenge every game is how can I make my analyst shine and really get into the spotlight and showcase their game knowledge? Because if I've done that right, then broadcast is really good in my opinion.
How you prepare for a broadcast?
Everyone has their different methods, certainly. And again, you'll realize this, Ben slash Brandon. You'll realize as you're interviewing other broadcasters throughout the show that we each have our own different methods that we're using to prepare for broadcasts and try to get ourselves situated. I have an iPad Pro. I use my Apple Pencil to help create my game boards. There are a lot of good pre-made templates on staatalent.com. They have a lot of free resources, though. For those who are watching or listening that are interested in getting into this industry, highly recommend not only do you become a member of the National Sports Media Association, you also need to become a member of the STAA, Sportscasters Talent Agency of America, because those are your most valuable resources in terms of making it in the industry and networking and finding resources that will help you get to where you want to go. I just type out the bare bones information on there of name, jersey number, height, if applicable, weight, what their hometown is, as well as if they graduate high school, which high school they graduated from. If I'm calling them in high school, certainly that information doesn't go on there because it doesn't make any sense. Maybe the seniors I'll talk about if they've committed to a college, I'll put it on there. And then statistics are biggest, especially in high school. And you certainly talk about, in my case, I do a lot of games in the high school 8-man football world. The biggest key is that as long as you are able to quickly recall the information in the right moment, then you're doing your game prep right.
I prepare by looking at myself in the mirror. That's what helps me. Thanks. Thanks. That was gnarly. What advice would you give me if I want to become a broadcaster?
Well, I mean, in your case, Brandon, the reps are the biggest thing, and the challenge. It's kind of this weird cycle. I was actually talking with Ian Eagle about this earlier this week, and other broadcasters because we just came out from the National Sports Media Association Awards Convention and Banquet, and I always tell the biggest thing that continues to come up in terms of younger broadcasters in their beginning of their career is you want to get reps, but you also have to try and find those places to get reps. And sometimes that can be a challenge. Certainly, colleges have their broadcasters lined up. They'll have some people on staff. Sometimes there will be openings, so that way you put yourself in a situation where you email the athletic directors with your resume and your reel, and you tell them, hey, I'd be interested in being a fill-in broadcaster if you have any openings. Sometimes you'll get no's. Sometimes you'll get people say, I'll keep your information in mind in case we have an opening. Sometimes they'll actually follow through on that. Sometimes they won't. But if you're that fill-in guy, if you're called up and asked to do a game at UT Knoxville or University of Alabama when they have an opening, you treat it like it's your Super Bowl. You make sure that you're performing to the best of your ability as if you should be their regular person. And if you do that on a consistent basis, whenever there are fill ins, the opportunities will continue to open up because they'll think this guy is good or this girl is good. We need to give them more reps and have them represent our product even better. But at least early on, what I always encourage people to do is you keep your finger on the pulse of the local side of things in terms of whether there are broadcast openings or for high schools or even rec teams. Like this last year, I was the voice for the Alabama women's ice hockey team, and they're a club sport because a lot of SEC schools don't have. The SEC doesn't regulate ice hockey yet. Hopefully, it will at some point. But it's one of those where um, I took on that opportunity partially because of my passion for elevating women's sports and making sure that they're given the spotlight that they deserve, but also realizing that hockey is really good to have on a resume, especially at a fast-paced sport like ice hockey is. Talk to your local high school's athletic director. Ask if they have a student-led broadcast. If they don't, ask if they'd be interested in starting one. But it's get the reps, try to carve out opportunities for your own, even if it means you go to like a local NFL game and you go into the corner of the bleachers, even though you can't really do that as much anymore in the NFL because a lot of stadiums are filled. But you either that or just get a B-roll of a game and just call it in your bedroom. Get the reps. Try to carve out the reps and see where there are opportunities around. And as you continue to broadcast and continue to get those reps, the opportunities should further open up.
Thanks for the advice. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me for an interview. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and your insights, your stories, perspective are inspiring, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from you.
I appreciate it. This is again, this is really cool that you're doing this in this sort of format. I know a lot of you, especially in our industry, there are so many podcasts out there, and there's so many shows out there trying to talk about sports and do other things, and this is really unique what you're doing here in terms of bringing in puppeteering and trying to find a different angle on these things. So continue to build off of that and play into that angle on your side because you're making yourself stand out in the right ways to try and make it in the industry, Brandon. And it's especially, and it helps that you have a good co-host at JJ Cool as well. So that's really special too. But this is be sure to continue to play into this and continue to get those reps, especially with the interview side of things, and you'll continue to improve with every little bit that you interview with such. And it's your future is bright. JJ Cool obviously knows that because he's wearing these shades because it's too bright for him to go forward and everything. So it's appreciate you inviting me. It's an absolute privilege, and looking forward to seeing where the rest of the show goes.
Rock on, rock on. That's the end of my show. See you soon, everyone.